Howdy, folks.
How's it going, Mike?
It is going. How about you, Jay?
Hanging in there. Cold. Cold as hell. Listening to one yesterday. Keynote, pretty good keynote.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's go check it out later. Let's give it a few minutes before we get started. Feel free to add your names, add any topics you want to talk about in the doc thing. Hey, Amir. Sorry, today's starting off slow. Hello, Amir.
Hello, Michael. Hello, everybody.
Cool. Welcome everybody to the February 15th Identifying Security Threats Working Group meeting. I will be your host. Have the normal run through of kind of project updates, can certainly talk about new things, other ideas. I think it might be interesting to touch a little bit on all of the new AI stuff that's been in the news recently. Just thinking it kind of does fit in our scope and charter to think about like the security threats that are around that. I don't know if people have a lot of thoughts, but just kind of throwing that out there as a point of discussion. Nobody here is new, so we don't need to do introductions. Project updates. Who has a project that they would like to give an update on?
I mean, hi, Michael. I can start with the virtual summit.
Yeah, awesome.
So we had a topsy-turvy ride. I mean, we were unsure about like whether we would be able to have a critical mass of people.
Sure.
But I mean, so what we have been doing for the past 1 week was actually personally connecting with the people whom we have reached before, and they were kind of sitting on the fences, haven't committed, and like get a confirmation from them. So with that, like guerrilla effort, we have right now have gotten acceptance from I think 14 or 15 maintainers, and the rest of us. I mean, you will also get an invite, and as well as the the other participants. Yesenia also suggested that that she also wants to participate in that event. So together we'll have about 20 something people. It's not going to be like a plan, but I mean, it's going to happen. At least that's the plan.
That sounds awesome. That like and even like that size, especially for a virtual event that we want to be interactive. Totally awesome.
Yes. So at this point, I'm working with Kahil to basically set up the send the final reminders, set up the Zoom, etc. We also want to do a survey for the participants about like what practices they follow. That kind of gives us some data point that we can use during the conversation. We have also connected with the moderators. I mean, initially we thought of 4 breakout sessions, but because the participant size is lower, we now have 2 breakout sessions. So Krob and Bob Calloway would be like, we have connected with them. We have previously asked like David to be there. I mean, but because like we have like downsized a little bit, so that's why we're limiting it to 2 people. And I guess like David might appreciate you're welcome to show up, of course. But I mean, you don't have to like be burdened with an extra duty. So that's that. And yeah, I mean, Kahil said that he knows how to set this thing up in Zoom so that we can have like a group session, then break out, and then come back together. I don't know how that works, but I mean, he said he's going to figure it out. So I think we're all good regarding that.
Awesome.
When you said David, do you mean me?
Yes. I mean, I connected with you earlier regarding about being a moderator, but I mean, because you're so busy and we have downsized, so we just picked 2 others in that particular role.
I'm happy to help. However, my plate is full. So if there's others who want to do it, that's awesome. I encourage it. I'm unable to do all things.
Sure. Thank you. I knew that. Thank you. Thanks.
Awesome. So Zoom is completely frozen for me. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can
Awesome.
hear you.
So I'm just going to keep talking and pretend that all is not foobar. Yeah, so that sounds great. So I did want to give you the heads up. I am on vacation next week, and I believe at 10:30 I'm actually like in we're long story, we're building a house, so we're like picking out stuff. So I probably will not be able to make it at all for that date, but please like have a great time, and I will be with you in spirit.
Sure.
Cool. Okay. Let's see. How about on the metrics dashboard?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Munawar. I had one other question just came from for folks that would like to learn about this and would like to attend. Should they just contact you?
Yeah, that could be done. I mean, we welcome more participation even at this. I mean, the more the better. So yeah, they can just connect. I mean, right now we're basically the flow is that I'm connecting personally with people. When I get the acceptance, I pass them to Kahil, and he's just like sending them the calendar invites. That's basically
perfect. That works great. Terrific. Okay. Sorry, metrics dashboard. How are things going?
Things are going well. We did hit just a small bump, and that was really due to competing priorities, you know, in our individual work efforts for our respective employers. So that there was a just a bump there, but we're back on track. What we're working on now is the new features that we had in open from December. Rob is currently working on those so that we can as a SIG look at those. What we want to do for the working group though is get a working demo together. So that's what we're actively pushing towards, so that we can bring a solid demo here to the working group. Hopefully, in the next couple of cycles, right? Next couple of meetings. hopefully we can do that shortly. I don't have a timetable on that, but I know by next meeting, we should be able to see another mock-up.
Okay,
So
Mock-ups are-
that's being
yeah.
worked on, but yeah, actively
works.
working in a demo for the working.
okay. So as far as funding for the full implementation, I don't know if you guys have had conversations on that, or kind of if that's something that Nirav kind of owns that specking out, but it would be just in kind of the financial climate of the moment. It might be prudent to, number one, know whether the plan is for this to come out of the OpenSSF general fund budget, which I can't imagine it coming from anyplace else. And then B, just running it up with Brian or Michelle to just make sure that there's some money available for this. That can obviously grow over time or whatever, but I would hate to have everything come through up to the point of, okay, now we need to scale this out and we need X million dollars for infrastructure, and there's, you know, $50,000 available. So
Right. Okay, you know what, we could begin having those discussions, and I guess too, we can add that to we can add that to the agenda as agenda items to discuss, and I'll even add that in here for our next meeting to begin discussing that. Especially since he's working on the mock-up and then the demo, I can ask just at a high level how much, you know, budget-wise do we think we'll need, and then we'll bring that back to the working group. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think I think all of us have had to play budget games before. So Jay, I'm just saying what you already painfully know, which is I think we'll need to make sure it's not just a hey, here's a number, but a, you know, hey, where's that for? Because if he comes in with a big number, I think you know I think that although in the long term we can make this big and amazing, um, you know, we've already shown that with a very small amount of time and money, and Michael did a lot with very little time, and he's run away. Now that I speak his name, I think he's having technical problems. He heard that I might be talking about him. So, you know, I think that if people are starting to get worried about funding, that doesn't mean that kills this. It just means we need to scale. We may need to control the scale a little more carefully. And I think that's totally doable. You know, oh, okay, maybe we don't, you know, maybe we don't try to reproduce every build on the first version of metrics. Fine. What metrics can we do and show that are useful and grow?
Yep.
So, you know what's interesting? I think we just ran out of our agenda. Oh, somebody's going to add something. Who's adding security reviews?
That was me, David. I just thought I would quickly add it on. I was just reviewing the notes from the last meeting, and my apologies for not being able to make the last few. It just, the timing just did not work out. But I see that there were some questions about uploading all of the individual reviews from the impact report onto the security reviews dashboard. I was able to see this table that generates that has all the reviews, and I think it looks fantastic. So I would be happy to, I think because we got the kind of the template thing fixed, which was giving me some problems last year. But I think now that that's fixed, I will upload the individual projects into the repo so that those are easily, you know, viewable and indexable. And I also just saw from the notes talking about incorporating this into the scorecards project. And I just want to go ahead and suggest that I think that's a great idea. I really liked how.
Are we talking scorecards or metrics? I wrote the text about the metrics dashboard. Scorecards is sensible, but is that? I mean, is that what you meant?
I mean, I could see both working. I actually was just about to say that I thought it worked really well with that initial metrics dashboard that we had, the metrics.openssf.org. So I think the more that this information can be integrated into other things that, give insight into, the workings of a project, then I think all the better. So I just wanted to say that I'm in support of that, and I'd be happy to help how I can. But as I also said in the chat too, it's been a busy last couple months for me, so I haven't been able to be as helpful as I wanted with things like the Virtual Maintainer Summit and the other efforts going on in this working group. But yeah, I also just want to thank whoever put the shout out in the last meeting. We're very happy about the report and all the work that was done in that, and yeah, looking forward to doing more. So
All right. There was a discussion earlier, and my apologies. I think maybe it was in the last one. No, it wasn't. Maybe it was. Okay, and that was basically can we make this easier so that if I have a URL about a project, I can pretty much instantaneously link to the security reviews page. Has anybody talked about that as a possibility? I'm thinking about particularly for the best practices badge. I mean, if I could on startup load a file or have a URL that basically click here and it brings me to a security review, I would be happy to do with that.
You can do that with one of the ways that you could do that is by buying a domain that mirrors GitHub's. So and basically let's say github.com, right? You just add OSS best OAS ossbestpractices.org at the beginning of that domain, and it would resolve to a site that served that content. So you just all you need to do is mess with your browser window a little bit.
Oh, that's right. But and you know what? We can probably, there's all sorts of games we can play. I mean, if there could be a simple URL where you say foo ? And some string, and it would just link me to the list of the matches, that would be awesome.
Well, so I mean the reviews themselves have package URLs, or the essence of the thing that the review is tied to, and that doesn't work well for everything, but for a lot of things it does. So if you knew that you were doing one of npm left pad, so package npm left pad, and then rely on GitHub code search to find that in the repo, that might be good enough for most. Now, if you only know about the home page,
that's all I have. I have the
home
home
page. Only
page.
have the home page.
I mean, we have talked about.
Do you have the homepage of the project, or do you have the homepage of the GitHub repo?
Both.
Okay.
But we call them home pages and repo URLs. Homepage URLs, repo URLs. But yes.
Yeah. So if you have the GitHub URL, you can change the GitHub URL into a package. No, you can't. I mean, you can,
but it doesn't. But it
you
doesn't help you.
Yeah.
You can refer to something with package URLs and refer to the original repo, but that's not typically the URL you use.
Exactly.
Clearly, what we need is for Perls to add a redirect standard. That was a joke. Perls do.
in all honesty, I mean, that's not so crazy, but yeah. Well, now wait a minute. It seems to me that the security reviews, there are some other URLs too in there, aren't there?
There are, yeah, it's like package generic and blah, to refer to like things that don't make sense. And that was our, like, we need to like fit it into a package URL because package URL, like they are verified, they are validated to be like syntactically correct. But there's no standard for like, I've got a random web page. What's the package URL for that? Like,
Right. Although in my case, that's actually the point. So I just do a string match on the header. Are these two URLs the same?
yeah,
Which does work.
yeah. I mean, what you could do like as the coarsest, like least pleasurable option would be to just link to a GitHub search in the repo for the name of the project, knowing that there shouldn't be lots of files that have that same phrase or word or string in it. And you know, maybe that's good enough.
Do you know how many forks there are of like Gradle?
No, but sorry, but in our security reviews repo,
Yeah,
like if we have Gradle, it'll probably only be in one directory. There may be 3 files because we've had 3 reviews, but it'll still be better than like,
yeah.
you know.
I mean, the challenge is package URLs typically refer to an individual built package, and there may be many for like a system package, there may be dozens of package URLs representing different builds of a single source package.
Oh right, yeah. No, I'm saying just do the coarse grain. Like let the search engine figure out, like how close you are. So literally, if you wanted to do OpenSSL, you know, your search would be
I mean, it could literally be the search for the name in the
yeah, it would be something that I'll post back in chat yeah. So if you do a GitHub search against the repo being OSSF security reviews and the path being reviews, and then whatever OpenSSL, you know, you get back. That third one shouldn't show up. But you have to
I'm actually looking for, I mean, some of these package URLs like the CII. That's weird. The package URL is actually for, oh, I see why they did this. It was a whole bunch of package yeah, this is the problem. This is a challenge. I picked a bad example. The one for core infrastructure initiative, it's just a way to download
that looks terrible.
yeah. What
Yep.
it really should be is the package URLs for the individual things being reviewed.
Probably, yep.
All right, so let's try to avoid a bad example. Linux kernel is a fabulous, fun one. Yeah. Yes, and now it's referring to a download URL, which actually isn't the download URL.
And that's also weird because the Linux kernel, like it is, I mean, I guess it should just be a generic Git repo.
Yeah. All right. So maybe nmap here, npm clap. Yeah. Now, okay. See that now it has a simple package URL: package:/npm/clap at 123. Yeah. Another way is to add. We could add fields to give URLs for the source and such when you know them.
Yep. Or well, yeah. So you could also add it on your end. Have maybe that's what you just said, but like when you provide a project to best practices, in addition to homepage and repo, you say what package URLs are you distributed under, which sounds a little bit like the Security Insights YAML spec. But-
Yes, although it's actually a little bit of a challenge for folks that are like, okay, if you're like within NPM or PyPI, that is totally doable. In fact, if you don't know it, something went wrong.
Mhm.
But if you're doing a system package,
Oh, yeah.
you are certain not to know them.
Yep.
I mean,
Totally
who knows? We're gonna, if you'll know for a couple distros, maybe you'll know for Red Hat Enterprise Linux or
Mhm.
Fedora or Debian or Ubuntu,
Yep.
maybe for GNU Arch. There's over 1,000 Linux distros. You won't know them all.
Yep. Yep. And even for each one, there's different architectures, which are different things. Okay. Yeah, this one, I would suggest just going to the GitHub search, keep it easy, and then refine from there over time. This is gonna be a hard one to solve. Like,
Yeah, you say GitHub search.
oh, sorry, in the meeting notes.
Yeah.
You see example?
Oh.
So makes
That's
it
a
easy.
total cheat. I love it.
Give that one a shot, and if that one is it only has to be worse than nothing, then for us not to use it.
Okay.
And I think the path is actually wrong because it includes things that are not in reviews. So I screwed up how I'm expressing just search this path, but conceptually it should just show that one or two results for OpenSSL.
To be honest, at least for the example that you're showing here, it actually seems to work.
Yeah.
What's the type equal code do?
It's looking for code because as opposed to issues in our repo.
Okay. Okay, so absolutely type equal code is right. All right. Incredibly ugly and weird. It works.
It's like when you go to just lots of web pages have that like, oh, just search us, and then it like takes you to like a Google search with like and site equals there.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah, that this looks like it's actually a GitHub search. Yeah, no, I do that myself with some others, but this is not a crazy idea. And so you just replace OpenSSL with whatever it is that you would search.
Exactly. And then well, someone else start. I'll try to get the actual like path.
Okay. And then Michael, was that you that typed in the don't forget to bring up the security reviews and metrics dashboard assurance
Yes.
assertion? Okay.
Yep. So sorry, when I froze before, I was talking about it and then I realized that y'all what I guess for okay, so for security reviews, as part of AO, we're going to be generating these assertions. Assertion is a fact, like, when CodeQL ran, it found 0 critical issues in this thing. We're going to save those assertions and then run policy against them, saying we think a reasonable policy is that CodeQL should not find any SQL injection vulnerabilities in a thing. So we'll have similar to the audit, and this is kind of the evolution of the automated security reviews that we posted maybe 80 or 90 into security reviews last summer. So one thing is, I think it would make sense to like revisit that and have those assertions and the policy evaluation results in a markdown file that goes to security reviews. So that was my first point. And then the second was, let's do the same thing and have it exposed through the metrics dashboard. And I don't have a strong opinion on whether it should go like assertions to security reviews to dashboard, or assertions to both, or what. But no, I think having those two tied together would be interesting.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. I think back to like my old days as a internal auditor, and that was a very, I would say, kind of well controlled, um, um, business. I, I can't think of the word right now, but yeah, we would have essentially what was called like the standards, the II standards, the Institute of Internal Auditor like standards, that you basically use as your backbone, and then you basically publish as part of an internal audit report, what we would call like reasonable assurance. So it was if something was if controls are, if you have enough evidence basically that they are following these certain standards, you can say that we found that there was reasonable assurance that these security controls are being followed, and what have you. So something like that is certainly possible. I think there is enough resources out there. I mean, I think of a lot of the publications, for example, that the audit teams that we work with use. They use a lot of stuff from NIST, and a lot of stuff that comes out of the EU government, and I think it's Digit, for example. So I mean, something like that, I think, especially more like mid to long term, especially as we do more of these and at more scale, as you mentioned, is something worth visiting and talking about. Even if it's something pretty bare bones, just saying like, we generally use these things as our guidance, for example. There's plenty of good resources out there, and then come up with kind of some, I guess, somewhat standardized language on how the assertions can look. And but yeah, I think it's a good idea, especially like you said, over time, as we do more and kind of start to, because one thing I've noticed, at least in my personal experience with auditing open source projects, is that no two projects are ever the same. There's never like a standard like template we apply that works for everybody. So I think that makes it a little harder, but
so I think we might be talking about slightly different things. The assurance assertions that I'm referring to are the fully automated ones. So you basically run n number of tools, and when the tools all show effectively nothing interesting, there's nothing to triage. Therefore, you can make a statement of that fact without having to have eyeballs on it. So we're only going to get a subset of open source that we'll be able to make interesting assertions on, or we'll be able to make this code, this package looks clean assertions on. The rest, the best we'll be able to do is a tool showed something, but no one has looked at it assertions, which we need to talk more about, like what that, like what that means and what evidence we provide and all that. But the idea, so similar to, if you go to within security reviews today, if you, I'll post a link in chat to this, but so this review for AMZ yellow, post it in chat too. So that one was just fully automated. So the markdown was generated. So we hit go and a markdown popped out.
Okay. And
the summarized results, showed for this one in particular, it was when CodeQL ran, there were 0 results. Like it ran successfully, but and nothing was found. Detect secrets found nothing. No, JSCAN found nothing. SemGraph found nothing. We were able to rebuild it, and when we checked, I think OSV or DepsDev, there were no vulnerabilities found. So therefore, it is, you know, I don't want to say good enough, but it meets a bar. Like we've created a bar and we've said it met the bar.
Right.
The bar, and it, you know, it's definitely not a manual audit bar, but so the assurance assertion is the evolution of this, where we, you know, can be more nuanced in the types of results. We can change those things over time. We can express them in a machine readable way, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
So that's what I'm thinking.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it certainly makes sense, because I mean, something is always better than nothing, right? So
That's what I figured. Yeah, if you don't like it, like ignore it. Like it's, you know, totally.
yeah, or make it
Totally
better, or
fine.
suggest an improvement. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Yeah. And just so you know, I have already quickly, while we've been having this chat, added this a link to the security reviews from best practices as an issue. It's 1916. This is one of those, wow, it's a mess. It's not pretty, but it works. We can do it now. Although it's not pretty, it probably is a better matching system than trying to match exactly on the packages anyways. So this is not a crazy idea.
Awesome. And Amir, I posted also in the chat in the meeting notes the assurance assertions pitch deck, which just goes into more on what we're thinking about and doing. Jay, you've had your hand up for a long time. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, what I wanted to do is I wanted to as a caveat to what Amir was talking about, and then what you displayed. I think ultimately, as far as reviews go, that language. So as an example, to kind of bridge between what Amir was saying and what you displayed, even in instances, and Amir, I'm saying this because I too worked in internal audit. I too was an auditor. Actually, I built an advisory shop inside internal audit, but I'm very familiar with audit practices. So
very cool.
Yeah, as a caveat to what you were saying, and of course, what Mike is, even in the instance where you ran a tool and this tool has said that this thing passed, and you can provide that level of assurance that because of what was ran on this tool, we can safely say, or within whatever degree of standard deviation, I don't know, I shrug, to say that this passed. That language should still be standardized, right?
Oh, I agree. Yeah, yes. So we should have a doc that describes our bar and our rationale for where we think it should be, all the thoughts that go into that, and they say, okay, CodeQL with these set, you know, like current version of CodeQL with the default rule pack. If it has detectors for SQL injection, then we will leverage that as a bar. Things like that, where it is not just like, we found a random tool on the internet and we used it and the tool didn't explode, so we said it was
right.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm saying that to Amir's point, right? So an IIA standard for open source doesn't exist. That's something that can be actually, that might be something for, well, dare I say, for perhaps the best practices working group to work on. I don't know if it's them or maybe Amir's working group that works on that, but that kind of standardization body might need to exist to standardize how audits are done on open source projects. And then included in that would probably be that standardized wording for instances like that kind of assurance when you ran that tool, right? There could be a section of that says, in an instance where tools are ran, that, and I know the wording is debatable. I'm not going to go over the wording, but what gets produced is this document that says these specific things based on this specific criteria, right? And that can be improved over time. That's a working document that can change over time, right? But perhaps something like that does need to be created if these type of reviews, these type of audits, and then these type of assurances are being made at scale. Perhaps we do need to provide some type of standardization, like, for instance, stuff that's done through the IA, because then we can audit the audit process, which, and Amir knows this, I can't remember what it's called. Amir, freshman, I can't remember what it's called, but you actually pull out audit reports and then do an audit of the audit practices. If you can look at a report and take that report, pull out, and know exactly the steps that were taken to reach that conclusion, then that report's successful. If you cannot, then there are things missing. And I can't remember what that's called, Amir.
Is that quality assurance, maybe QA?
QA, is it QAP? QAIP. There, thank you. QAIP. That's what it's called.
There's a
It's
whole
called
bunch of terminology
QAIP.
for this stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
Quality assurance, something, whatever P. I don't know. It's a QAIP. I know that's what it is. But yes, that's exactly what it is. Auditing the auditing practices. You can then do that to them, right? Because that's going to have to happen sooner or later. If you're producing auditing reports, can you effectively retrace those steps and come to the same conclusion?
Exactly. Yeah. But I think the critical thing here is essentially them being supported and done at scale. But yeah, I think I'm totally on the same page on that.
Just to kind of close the loop on that, I fully support like standards. Not going to wait for standards. Standards will not happen this or next year around this. So we're going to move forward. We will make it up as we go.
Exactly.
Yeah. Standard. We will snap to it. We will say, "Yay, standards people," because it is super important. But it'll be a de facto standard until then.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think we can just figure out and standard as in common within us, work out a brief sentence. This has gone through this evaluation, blah, go here for detail, see this link for details. And
exactly.
And in the end, none of this stuff, unless you're doing formal proofs, you're not proving anything.
Well,
you're doing something to reduce the risks.
It's all reproducible anyway, practically by definition, because we're doing this in the standard tool chain that we are releasing with the standard tools that we've released. So you should be able to produce modulo a signature, the identical assertion that we produce. So if that's not true, like nothing is perfect. Like, there are like non-reproducible things out there, but the evaluation of it should be 98, 99% reproducible. So
well, there's you run the tool, you get results, but then you have the analyst, and that part isn't reproducible.
No, but there's no analyst here. It is just what the tool came out with. So running tool version X against package version Y in this kind of standardish environment should give 8 results today and 8 results tomorrow and 8 results the next day, and that's the kind of reproduction that I'm referring to.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, I think we've talked a lot about all of that. Luigi, anything on security insights that you'd like to talk about?
A short update. I have presented the well, the situation in some project that we have that doesn't have they don't have a security policy during the last TAC meeting. So now I am involved in discussion slash in a discussion to write a security policy that we can use for the organization, or at least some project or key project. Probably the main issue is that we want to have, every project would like to have an email or a contact. And so the next question is how we are able to offer to the maintainer a sort of a Google group or something similar, a shared email that they can use to collect email.
So talk with Michelle at OpenSSF about it might be very easy to get aliases for, you know, scorecards at openssf.org, scorecards-security at openssf.org to route to either a group or a DL or whatever.
I would be so every single group wants their own security channel.
Well, the metric dashboard group, like the folks that would respond to, and unless OpenSSF is going to stand up a centralized incident response team, which I would
No, but
not.
like if
Actually, wait. Can we just enable private vulnerability reporting across all of OpenSSF, all of OSSF?
We can, but some projects maybe want to have their own email or contact. Technically, it's very easy to solve this problem, but not for the researcher, because we can use just, hey, encrypt your email with this public key. Every project has a different public key, but no one wants to encrypt them.
Yeah, everyone wants to do that.
Yeah.
No, but I'm thinking if we actually leverage the GitHub thing at a policy level, turn it on for, like, let the TAC know, let the TAC make the decision, but then turn it on for everybody, and then
right, we can use the private issue that is a vulnerability report in GitHub for every project, and we can have the security policy that is the same. This is good.
Yep.
Yeah, that's better. The only thing that I would be concerned about is like any of these vulnerabilities accidentally getting like a project maintainers have stopped working on it. The TAC hasn't figured out what to do with it. They're ending up being like a black hole that these reports go into and nobody responds to them. And that looks, so the risk is not that a vulnerability gets black hole and not responded to. Well, that's part of the risk. The other part of the risk is that looks bad that looks bad against the OSSF as a entity because someone is not responding to a report that came in.
What I suggest is let's solve that problem when we get there. We only have a few active code repos. No one's going to be submitting a vulnerability report back to like the TAC spec repo. It's just docs.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just
yeah, totally. Yep, it can happen.
And in the worst scenario, we can say if you don't receive a response after some days, and we can define it, then write at least the ping in the Slack general channel or something.
And that could, or ping TAC private or something. Like if it's, you know, like they should have an escape clause of like getting to a human being private. So
yeah.
Okay, this
Cool.
sounds like a plan, and I can write directly. Or well, Jonathan, you have updated. You are updating in real time, but I will write a message in our thread in the vulnerability disclosure channel about this, and I can propose this point.
It's a different topic though, so it's a different thread. I have a proposal for the other policy, which is the outgoing reports that I sent to, or I showed to Michael and not Brian. Bob. Well, Brian also saw it, but yes. So I'll be sending that out into the Slack channel shortly. But I would make sure that these are separate issues and separate tickets because there's a very different That
Yeah.
they look like they're the same and they have the same name, but they are different use cases and different policies. So, yeah.
Did you want to, we have 10 minutes left. Was there anything else that we want to talk about? We could use this time to talk about that, because I think that about that policy, but
I mean, I'll paste the link. Which working group is this one again? This is the identifying.
security threats.
Yeah.
I mean, just to align everyone in this group, I have
What's the Slack channel name?
It should be identifying security.
Oh,
Or,
there it
no,
is.
sorry, WG underscore.
Found it.
Security threats, yeah.
Found it. Hang on a second. I just had to reboot my machine because I finally got the human MDM software off of this machine. All right, here we go. There, I'll also paste it into the Slack channel or into the Zoom channel.
Perfect.
There we go.
this is how we want to disclose a vulnerability that someone reported to us in a public way, right?
No,
No.
that's why I'm making this very clear. This is not the same thing as what you're doing. This is very much not the same thing. That's why I want this to be a separate issue. This is for vulnerabilities that primarily Alpha Omega, but any other open source software foundation working group may identify.
Okay.
project.
Oh, okay. Now I have understood. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
why I wanted to make sure this was very different from the two of us, because I don't want
Yeah.
there to be confusion there.
Okay.
Clearly there already was.
Maybe there is a better name, or in your opinion, no?
I added
It's a disclosure policy. I don't know. It's disclosure
right.
policy versus vulnerability reception policy, or
no.
like
Vulnerability reporting, because we're not disclosing the vulnerability.
we are
reporting.
disclosing the vulnerability. This is our policy. This is our policy. No. It's not our reporting policy. This is our policy on how we will disclose a vulnerability after a set of conditions are met. Either the report has been fixed or the maintainer has dropped the ball. Like, this is the policy that we will use to disclose a vulnerability, not report it.
Like about when you say how we disclose, this means
No, it's not. Sorry, it's not a how. It's a policy for. It's a policy, not a process.
yeah, but
This is the policy that we will follow around how the vulnerability will get disclosed after a certain set of time or a certain set of conditions are met.
but
The timeline.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're talking about, okay. So this refers to how OpenSSF is going to publicly disclose new vulnerabilities that we find in other people's
Exactly.
stuff
exactly.
at
These
the
are-
end of some workflow that we think is that the policy describes.
Correct.
Okay, it is like the Project Zero disclosure
is-
policy.
Yes, this policy is basically copied and pasted and then heavily modified from Google Project Zero's policy.
Okay, then we need to have also a policy where we say to the researcher how to report the vulnerability, and maybe also how we can, or the researcher can disclose the vulnerability that they have
Yes,
found.
but it should be a separate issue and a separate yes, and
Yeah.
it should be a separate thread, and that's why I wanted to avoid the confusion there. But yes, I agree, it should exist.
Okay, we need to both. I agree. Yeah. I'm working on that one.
Yeah. So given that context, feel free to review it with that information.
And just to, you know, make sure nobody like skips over it. The important controversial part is going to be, at what point do we throw our hands up and say, you know what? It's better for the world to know about this vulnerability, even though it is not fixed. So we are disclosing 0 days at the end of one of these, one of these paths. We want to make sure that we're okay conceptually, and that that path is constrained enough that the trade-off is right.
Now, this policy should be consistent with the policy of saving vulnerabilities, i.e., like the way that we report vulnerabilities should not, like, if I am reporting a vulnerability to an open source security foundation project, it should not be incompatible with the outgoing policy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like they should be they should be compatible with one another. Otherwise, that looks stupid.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like the policy, I mean, it is kind of like the reporters. But so if somebody sends us a vulnerability report and they're like, we're going to go public in 45 days, like we don't, like we can be upset, but we can't, like, you know, it's still their policy.
Yeah, it's that. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But we could say we, you know, internally we you know, are okay with being on the other end of this.
Yeah. Any feedback, responses, questions, concerns?
Please add them in the doc after this. This is important, good stuff that we need to.
That policies like that need to be public and comment and such before.
Yeah, I know. I'm starting small, and then before I open myself up to the fire hose.
Yeah. Have you?
I don't know.
With, yeah,
Put your I don't know. Put your you've interacted with the TAC hat on. Any of you who've interacted with the TAC, what are they going to say when they see this? I mean, I know we're going to go through the vulnerability disclosures working group first, but like, let's say that they've seen this. What are they going to say?
First, the question TAC's going to ask is exactly what you asked. Hey, is the vulnerabilities disclosure group looked over this?
Yes. Yeah.
I've been trying to channel the TAC in my kind of like objections to the 0 day pipe. So I think they'll focus on that too.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question, because after Project Zero, 90 days became a sort of standard for disclosure, but probably, I mean, it was designed for software vulnerabilities. What happens if you have an hardware vulnerabilities?
You have a what?
And vulnerability in an open source hardware, for example.
This is the policy for everything. This is the policy for
This
is the policy for everything we find, no matter where it is. It's not specific to. It's not specific to vendors. It's not specific. It's like anything that we find under the flag of the Open Source Security Foundation. This is the policy that will be followed.
Oh,
and by the way, if I may object to the word standard here, the 90 days is really the edge case. It's the longest one I know of.
Project ZDI does 120 days.
Okay. Oh, there's the one that's longer. Okay, good for you.
Yeah.
But for example, CERT, the Linux distros, lots of others have much shorter time frames.
And I wouldn't mind going shorter, but I also know that people are going to push back on that. I mean, I could start with 45 and see how much pushback I get.
Yeah, you know, I think for this purpose, taking the longer number is probably going to be. We can try to shorten it later, but I think you're going to get pushback enough now. That the 90 days is
the reason the 90 days exists. I think the rationale that I heard from somewhere is either my conversation with Katie or someone else The reason it's 90 days is because Microsoft originally couldn't get vulnerabilities fixed that fast. And so eventually Microsoft really announced what's called Patch Tuesday.
Right.
And Patch Tuesday is once a month. And so 90-day policy gave Microsoft 3 Patch Tuesdays to get a fix out for a security fix before Project Zero went public with a vulnerability. And so that's why, and because a lot of the vulnerabilities that Project Zero finds is in Microsoft stuff, that's the policy. They kind of catered it to, you know, Microsoft, you know, there was a lot of juggling back and forth between Microsoft. I mean, originally Microsoft hated Google dropping O days on them. Like there was a lot that you know, it ended up in I think the Project Zero was dropping O days on Microsoft ended up being a topic as a part of a congressional hearing because some people got pissed at some like marketing people at Microsoft got pissed at Project Zero for doing that to them. So there's been all this, there's a long history there between that for that.
I just want to add one more important point for this doc. The automated part is the really important part. So Jonathan is going to find 10,000 zip slip or whatever vulnerabilities in a thing. The idea of manually contacting and engaging each of 10,000 is not feasible. So the purpose of the automated thing is for certain classes of vulnerability, when they're done at scale, is there a way to do it without manual effort per project? That's why the second half of the doc exists.
Yeah, I'm also you asked me to write up a small thing that said, hey, if like you wanted to have disclosure, automated disclosure, how would you do it? I'm working on that like short bullet list of here's what we need.
Perfect.
You, Michael.
Awesome. We are out of time. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate everybody's time. Great conversation today. Enjoy the rest of your week. I will see y'all in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Bye all.